Hey, writers! I am delighted to join with Tina Cho today. Welcome, Tina.
Thank you, Sarah, for having me.
This is going to be a great conversation, and I wanted to invite Tina here for a chat because she has written a plethora of books. But what's interesting about this, apart from them being great books, is that they all kind of follow these different styles, different genres, different categories, the whole nine yards. And so Tina has a lot of experience to share with us here. And so let me introduce the writers to Tina just a little bit more in case they don't know you. Tina is the award-winning author of six picture books. Most recently, like as we are recording this just days ago, God's Little
Mm.
Oceanographer is the most recent release, but she also has this fabulous middle grade graphic novel called The Other Side of Tomorrow, which received five-starred reviews, which is amazing. Congratulations on that, as
Thanks.
well as the Golden Kite Award from the SCBWI, which is also amazing, and a Junior Library Guild Gold Standard Selection, an SLJ Best Graphic Novel for 2024, and the Kirkus Best Middle Grade for 2024, and a Booklist Editor's Choice in 2024. I mean, these are all such amazing things, and that
Mm.
is good because it is an excellent book. She is a kindergarten teacher by day and an author by night, and you can connect with her at tinamcho.com. So, as you heard in the introduction, writers, Tina has a whole bunch of wonderful writing things going on. I thought it would be great if you could tell us. I mean, you have this wide variety of work. And I would love to know how your writing journey kind of went. I know you started with the Rice from Heaven picture book, which is a beautiful picture book. That was being the first of the published, but you've published many since then, and now this middle grade as well. Could you tell us how you got from there to here?
Sure. So my heart is in picture books because I am a teacher. So I've always been reading picture books, and even like when the Scholastic book flyer comes out, I rush and look at all the beautiful picture books that are out. And so back in 2008, I looked up how to write a picture book. So that's where my journey started. And that led me to SCBWI, the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators. And they put me in touch with a lady named Nancy I. Sanders. She's a well known author, and she invited me to her in person critique group. This was when we were living in California. And they have pretty much taught me so much about writing. So that's where my journey started. And then I joined a lot of critique groups and read lots of blogs. Those were popular back then. I joined a challenge called 12 by 12,
Yep.
put out by Julie Headland. I was one of the beginning members of that in 2012 and 2013. Um, and then I also took 3 online picture book classes. So those really helped me on my journey. And my novel that came out in November was actually a picture book. It started out that way back in 2013. So over the course of a year, going back and forth with my critique group, they finally said, this is too much content. You should try it as a chapter book or a middle grade novel. But I didn't know how to write a middle grade. So I looked that up on the internet. And my mentor friend, Nancy I. Sanders, again, she had written a course that you could do, a self paced course, how to write a novel in 1 month. So I did that. And at the time, I was homeschooling my kids and we were living in Korea. So I would write in the afternoons. So I did that with the novel. And then one of the early drafts, I submitted it to a contest just for fun, the Scholastic Asia contest, and it won like second place. So I flew to Singapore to accept that award. And then let's see, they wanted to publish it, Scholastic Asia, but they didn't want to do that many edits. And I knew that it was full of
Mm.
mistakes and things because I didn't know what I was doing. So I said no. And then um, after that, shortly after that, I landed with my agent, Adria Getz, and she and I revised it and sent it out, and it got lots of lovely rejections. And then she suggested, based on an editor's feedback, that maybe I should try writing it as a novel in verse. But I didn't know how to write a novel in verse. So once again, I checked a lot of them out from the libraries, and I did a webinar about novel in verses and kind of rewrote it. Took a long time. And then that hooked an editor from HarperCollins. The imprint is Harper Alley. They do graphic novels. And she asked if I wanted to turn it into a graphic novel. And so I didn't even read them at the time. I don't even, the only comics I'd read was when I was little, like Garfield and stuff. So I went back to my library, checked out some graphic novels, and they were really nice. Like this one I read about the Holocaust. And so I said, sure. And she already had an illustrator lined up. So that kind of worked out really nicely. So that's how it kind of morphed into middle grade. It wasn't
Yeah.
on purpose.
That's so interesting. I like how you say it worked out nicely. Never mind that you had to write the book four different times.
Right. So it took, I mean, I started the research back in 2012. So it didn't
Right.
come out till 2024. So
Mm. Yeah,
a long
12
time.
years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I hope writers are paying attention to that. Sometimes we
Yeah.
don't want to hear that long number, but
Right.
that is amazing. So I know that several of your books are specifically rooted in the Korean culture. Um, and right now is just a great time for writers who are looking to integrate aspects of their life, whether it's their culture or their job or, things that are maybe more unique to them. Um, have you found this to be an easy thing to do, or has it been harder to do than you thought it might be?
To add in like culture,
Yeah.
it's been pretty easy because we were living in Korea at the time. So it just organically went into my stories. Like the first story happened in Korea, Rice from Heaven. That was based on an event that I helped with. Um, and then the second book, Korean Celebrations, is nonfiction about the holidays. So I wanted my kids to understand about all the holidays. It seemed like they had one every month. So that's how that one came about. And then um, my this book, The Ocean Calls, came about from a tweet I saw on Twitter about these women divers, the Haenyeo. So I looked them up and they were in Korea, just like I was. So I researched them and they were just a 30-minute plane ride from where we were based close to Seoul. So that's how that came about.
Yeah,
Yeah, so yeah.
that's lovely. That is lovely. Did you find it difficult to, like, I'll use myself as an example. I'm in a musical world, and sometimes I take for granted things that a musician might just automatically know, but someone who is not a musician is like, wait, I don't understand what you're talking about because I just take it for granted that people know.
Right.
Have you found it challenging to talk about certain perspectives of culture that maybe readers in the United States may not fully understand? Do you find yourself having to explain a bit, or has it been pretty straightforward?
It's been kind of easy for me. Like I said, I'm in 3 different critique groups, so
Yeah,
they'll point out things if they don't understand something.
yeah.
And that's
That's
why
why.
everyone needs to be in a critique
Yes,
group.
I was just gonna say that's why it's
Yeah.
helpful to get feedback on your work. So I know, so we talked about the book that just came out, God's Little Oceanographer, and that is book two, right? God's Little Astronomer is the
Yes.
first.
Uh-huh. Yes.
So that's going to be part of a series of books in STEM that are coming out, which is always interesting. I'm always fascinated by how series come to be. Is that an idea that you had come up with that you discussed either with your agent or editor, or was this something that the publishing house kind of contacted you about saying, we have this idea and we think maybe you could do this well?
So this came about because of an SCBWI newsletter. They publish a newsletter every so
Hmm.
often, and I was reading it, and they had interviewed the editor from Penguin Random House's Christian imprint, Waterbrook, and Bunmi Ishola said that she wanted to find like a science series based on the Nerdy Baby books, but from a Christian perspective. And so I thought, yes, I have an idea. So I told my agent my idea, and she loved it. And she said, "Go ahead and write the first manuscript, and then I'll pitch it to the editor." So that was God's little astronomer, except at that time I just called it Baby Astronomy.
Sure.
And so the editor liked it and the idea, except instead of like a board book, she wanted to make it into a picture book because of the cost of paper and everything. So, and then she wanted to make it into a series. And so I said, yes, of course, I'm not going to say no to that. So that's how that whole series has come about. And now we have two more books that will come out.
Right.
So there'll
So I
be,
know in those books you've got kind of like what we would consider more of the typical picture book prose, but then you also have some highlights of Bible verses, and then you also have some like sidebars.
sidebars.
Yes, like with the science facts in them as well. Was that a format that you came up with? Was it something like with some back and forth with the publisher? How did you guys land on
Um,
including
I
all three
think
of
that
those
was my
elements?
idea. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I
really
think that
cool.
was my, because I wanted to weave in the Bible verses. I
Hmm.
had a professor who always said you can have these proof texts for everything.
Hmm.
So that's how that came about.
Yeah, very cool. And does that formatting hold, is that formatting gonna hold
Uh-huh.
through then for the entire series?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
All consistent.
Beautiful art
Which
too.
makes it kind of hard to fit the format out
Right.
for each topic. Yeah.
Yeah. That is awesome. Okay, well, I want to make sure that our writers here know you're going to find all of Tina's books in the Kidlit Summer Camp book fair that we have online. So definitely check those out. We know you have, are you able to talk about any projects that are coming out?
I have a book coming out in February of 26 called The Princess and the Grain of Rice. So it's based on the fairy tale, The Princess and the Pea. So instead of having a yucky pea, I thought it could be a grain of rice. And it takes place in Korean history during, it's called the Joseon period of time, back in the um, early 1900s, when they had like a king and queens and princesses.
Yeah.
And this actually happened like when they were going to get a new princess, crown princess, they would have some tests. So it kind of fit right in naturally with the Princess and the Pea story. So
Yeah, that's cool.
yeah, I'm looking forward to that one.
Any now that you have tackled the middle grade graphic novel, are there any ambitions for more middle grade coming out, or do you see yourself sticking with
uh,
picture books?
I did write another one, but it hasn't sold yet.
Yeah.
It's just getting
Okay.
lovely rejection. So I am going to revise it, and then we'll see if
Yeah.
it gets snagged.
Okay, well, I hope that it does because the
Thank
other
you.
one is fantastic. All right. Well, Tina, I just want to thank you so much for being generous with your time and chatting with us about your books. And we've mentioned your website, tinamcho.com. Is there anywhere else that you would like writers to go connect with you?
I share a lot on Instagram,
Okay,
especially during the summer. So I'm at Tina M. Cho on Instagram.
great. We will have links to
Uh,
all that.
I started a Substack newsletter as well, but since I'm a teacher, I don't write that much, but like once a month is my goal.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
There are certain times of the year that are a little busier than others.
right. Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you again so much for your time and for your generosity.
Thank you for having me. It was fun.
All right, writers, thanks for joining us, and we will catch you next time. Bye.